Again, it took some time to work on a new video because I had to work on some house projects. But here it is, this video, the video in which we took a trip we traveled to a monastery on the other side of the country. Anyways, in our next video, you're gonna see my explanations for why we had to move from that apartment back to our back to my parents' house, back to my childhood house. And after that video, we're gonna just dive directly into the things, the videos and things that I want to say and I want to, to share. I wish I could make more shorts for YouTube. I wish I could make more content, more stuff like other creators that are very creative in their styles, but that's just not me, and I'm trying to keep my focus on my own flow. Also, with the things that I have to do, and I try to prioritize this as much as I can, but sometimes things will just come up and and as I am still a kind of beginner to the YouTube thing, it's still a little bit hard for me to accommodate with everything. But I'm trying my best to keep it a schedule, and I have my schedule stick to a wall, and I'm trying to do that. So, like I said earlier, I'm not a big historian, and I'm not neither a local from that place, and if you want to know more of those places rather than the things that I'm saying, the little things that I'm gonna say, please be sure you give it a Google search about the history of that place. So the places that we visited were the following. We visited the Prislop Monastery, which is located in Hunedoara County, I think. I'm not so sure. But yeah, and so like I said, if you watch already my other video, that place is known for its for this monk that used to live there. I'm gonna include some wiki links in my video description if you are curious about more of those informations. And yeah, I'm gonna try and record audio for each picture or each because I took more pictures of the same place, and so I'm gonna insert an audio recording for each set of pictures from the places that we visited, so to make more light on the subject and what is there. And but for, like I said, for more information, be sure to check the video description where I'm gonna link some Wikipedia links to for people to understand better if they're interested in history. But for me, I took this as a small vacation because I'm not so interested in history. To be honest, is not my most favorite thing in the world. Sometimes mostly I'm most receptive to information that I get from energy, and from what I get from energy, and I transform that into information, and from that, this is the true history for me, from what I am receiving energetically. Like, I know in that place this happened and this happened and this happened, and so that is the information. So for me, that is history. And so I don't like what is said, presented history of the way that others present that history, because it may be twisted, as nobody lived in that time period. Nobody can tell for sure if that can happen, and history can be easily manipulated and transformed in time, little by little. My husband drove like 6 or 7 hours, or maybe 8 hours, because we also took some breaks to eat and relax our legs a little bit. Sorry for not having so many videos. I took mostly pictures because in many places we weren't allowed to make a video. I wish I could have more videos or even more pictures, but those are it. I will try and explain in each picture what is in there, but don't expect too much because I'm not a local from there. I only know a little bit of history, but not so much of history. But anyway, let's dive into our video. Say something. Where are we going? Wrong! We are going to Prislop.
We're going to Prislop.
No, don't say that. So let's start with this. Let me open some pictures and to talk about them. So let's start from this. So this is the road that we had to take. It is a fast road in which cars can drive with a really high speed, and it was the most the most fast road to drive on, because we had to avoid going through towns that can be full of cars and all that kind of stuff, and so we chose the fast road. And I don't know how this is called in English, but anyways, it is like a very fast road in which cars are driving with a high speed, legal high speed, limited of course at 100 and 130 kilometers per hour or something like that, or 140, I don't know, something like that, 130 140 maximum legal speed to drive with on this road. Moving forward, the next picture. In the next picture we have some big roots of an old tree, because at this monastery there are lots of trees, and in that area there is lots of forests and trees. And at that monastery there was also like this like you had to climb while hiking, while walking, you had to go like up, like it wasn't a straight thing, like you could walk further. Like you had to kind of climb. And there were lots of trees, of old trees with big roots, that those roots were used like steps, I mean stairs. Stairs. You know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, stairs. And the roots of the trees were used as stairs to climb, to walk on them, and to be more easy for people. But in generally they are really useful there, and I took this picture because they were really interesting, and I like old trees and old roots and of trees, and those big roots of trees. And here we see one of the roots that growed right in the cement, and we can see my husband's foot. Moving forward is a picture with me, my mother, and my husband, and some more pictures with me, my husband, and my mother. A picture with me from the Hunedoara County in the center of town. I was really tired because we were walking and walking and walking, and it was lots of walking. Yeah, and moving forward. Here we arrived at the Sami Segetuza Regia, it's called. Like I said, I'm gonna put some links in the video descriptions. Here down, if you zoom the image, you can see me and my mother, and we were walking through those round stones. For many, this place is like a more energetical place. Many comes here to meditate and to connect with nature and with this place. This place, it was said to be connected with from the history time of let me search some Wikipedia. Okay, so reading from Wikipedia, please don't laugh at me. Like I said, it's not my history is not my first thing, and I get information and through history from energetical vibes, and anyways. So reading from Wikipedia, Sami Segetuza Regia was the capital and the most important military, religious and political center of the Dacians before the wars with the Roman Empire. Erected on top of a 1,200 meters high mountain, the fortress, comprising 6 citadels, was the core of a strategic defensive system in the Orăștie Mountains in present-day Romania. Sami Segetuza Regia should not be confused with Alpia Traiana Sami Segetuza, the Roman capital of Dacia, built by Roman Emperor Traian some 40 kilometers away, which was not the Dacian capital. Sami Segetuza Alpia was discovered earlier, was known already in the early 19 and was initially mistaken for the Dacian capital, and confusion will lead to incorrect conclusions being made regarding the military history and organization of the Dacians. Anyways, moving forward, so the most important of these ascribe the following possible meanings to the city's name: center where horse-mounted archers meet, Getian and Sarmatian combined with Getuza arrow, citadel built on palisades on a mountain peak, city of the warm river. Yeah, there is really good water there to drink, that is full with particles of gold and silver, which is really good for health in general. Palace illuminating the world of life. Sami Segetuza Regia contains a citadel and resident area with dwellings and workshops, as well as a sacred zone. The fortress, a quadrangle formed by massive stone blocks, was constructed on 5 terraces on a big area. The sacred zone, among the most important and largest circular and rectangular Dacian sanctuaries, includes a number of rectangular templates, the bases of their supporting columns still visible in irregular arrays. Something like a Stonehenge from England. So it was like in this place there can still be visible, if you can see from the pictures that my husband took with me and my mother, you can see those round discs in which they look like something like portals, from Star Trek series where they teleport, and they walk on this platform. They were like teleportation platform or something like that. that place is really weird because many people are feeling like sick, like suddenly because of the high altitude or something like that. People are feeling like, sick in that area, like they're feeling like faint and passing out, like it happened when we arrived there with my mother because she never been there before, but with me and my husband, that's our honeymoon place, they say like this, because I don't know why, but we are really attracted to that place. And also my husband felt kind of fainted when we were at the second time there. But me myself, every time that I felt like I was left with no energy, or like I was feeling sick or anything like that, I will instantly, when I arrived at that place, I was instantly feeling energized, and I was instantly feeling like I was, like growing with power and energy, with strong energy, like I was recharging myself really, really fast, But many people are feeling like sick and like they are about to faint, and this happened to my mother as well when we arrived this time there, because it was the first time for her as well. But not only that, she suddenly, her lips were going purple, and her eyes like she was about to faint, and like she was going out of oxygen or something like that. And I know the symptoms of fainting, and I also have knowledge of the first help, or what is called, like, when you help someone before on authorized first aid. I know the first aid, that is what it's called. I know the first aid, and I know how to apply it, to be it an infant, be it a child, be it an adult. I know how to apply first aid, and so I applied first aid to my mother, and she was okay in the end. It wasn't needed for us to call an ambulance or something like that. She was okay. Yeah, she also have diabetes, so it might be because she didn't I don't know, she didn't maybe eat enough on that day, or maybe the place, like I said, or I don't know. But anyhow, she was okay after that thing. She didn't really fainted, she was about to, and she ate something sweet, and she then was okay. Maybe she had like that, what happens to the people with diabetes, like their sugar from blood suddenly drops, Anyways, so moving forward, I was reading from this. An artifact referred to, I forgot to tell you guys, and that on this, like I said, I was starting talking about this, on these round things they used to sacrifice people. There isn't an actually historical record of this on the internet. Maybe I tried to search in my native language in Romanian about this. I tried to search in some books and on the internet and that kind of stuff, and in no place there can be a direct mention of the fact that there were people sacrificed on those stones. But this is what I have received as an information energetically. But there are also visible blood stains on the stones. So for example, me myself, because in our Romanian culture, especially at the countryside, people are using, sometimes they sacrifice animal, they kill them so we can eat them, like to cook and to instead of going to a shop and buy chicken and all that kind of stuff. People from the countryside, especially also because me myself personally, I grew up on the countryside. My mother and my father also used to sacrifice chickens, to not go into that gore description of what they did, they basically cut them. And the thing is that in time, also people from the countryside, and I saw that, like I saw how blood stained the rocks, and blood can stain the rocks and other things. Like if you do that thing repeatedly in the same place and on the same rock, blood can stain on that rock and can be stained lots of years to come. So it's not that like I insisted to that, because personally I do not agree with that. Like when I was a kid and I never saw how my father stabbed like a pig or something like that, because I was a kid and I wasn't allowed to assist to that kind of thing, and I neither did wanted it, because it was like, oh my god, no. If you ask me right now, are you a vegetarian or what are you? I am like, no, I'm not a vegetarian. I used to be a vegetarian because of my husband. But now, because of some health issues, we are back to eating only fish, chicken, and seafood, and yeah, I think that's it. Fish, chicken, and sometimes I eat cow, but that's it. I don't eat pig meat or something like that. It's for me personally, it's really like it's disgusting, because pig is a really dirty animal. Yeah. Anyways, I'll talk about that in a future video. Let's go back to this. So like I said, personally I saw how blood can stain the rock from sacrificing the animals. Personally, I never sacrificed anything, and I never want to do that. Like, I will never do that. That's not my thing to do, even if I grow up at the countryside. My husband, because he's not my boyfriend, he's my husband now. My husband asks me sometimes, like, will you ever do like your mother to sacrifice chicken? I'm like, no, I'm gonna buy from the store like any other normal human, because we have access to that. We're not savages anymore. Even so, you can't compare like a meat from the countryside growth chicken naturally, organic, with food, with green food, and chickens being free to run on the yeah. Anyways, moving forward, like I said, so it can be seen also from the stones, like they were stained with blood, because they used those sacrifices to venerate their gods, because they were praying to lots of gods. They didn't had one god. One of the gods that they were used praying, his name was Zalmoxi, I think. But there should be more information about that in this wiki page, I think. Yeah. So includes a number of rectangular templates. The most of the supporting columns still visible in regular arrays. Perhaps the most enigmatic construction at the site is the large circular sanctuary. Yeah, because it was like Stonehenge in England, like I said. So they were praying to the sun, like they were believing in gods, that they were connected somehow to the sun, because we can also see that thing, like it's circular, and it was like a natural clock, you know. And it can be seen like a citadel, something like, because there is also this river that is passing through that area. Like I said, that river, that water, that is very good to drink from it. It's really pure, you know, especially at that high altitude. It's really, really pure, that water, and I really recommend to come to this place and drink that water. Yeah, and you can see that there is this this river, this water that is coming through that, and so it's a perfect place, not only for hiding from the enemies, but also for praying and for like building a small village, you know. Yeah, there is also this thing that is called a solar disk. There is also this thing that is called the Great Circular Sanctuary, and yeah, so it was not only a place for meet with each other, but it was also a more like sacred place, you know, for them. Yeah. So another thing that I remembered that I read about this place is that I don't know if you can see clearly in the pictures, or if I have a clear picture with that, but there is like this what is called, just a second, so there is this hill. I forgot how it's called in English, so I had to search on Google. So it's this hill, and on this hill, like they used to make so I remember reading about this. Like there is on this hill a little bit up from the stones, from the circular stones, and like they used to make a veneration on that hill, and there were priests making sacrifices with animals and maybe even humans. Like this is what they said in that article, in that was the only article that I could find, if to confirm me that what I have received as energetical information from that place was true or not. So that was the only article that I could find related to what I felt, that yes, there were maybe also human sacrifices, but they're not saying in neither of those articles, neither any book that I could find on the internet, I couldn't find a direct relation to human sacrifices, you know, but it can be clearly seen, and the vibe and the things that are coming from that. Anyways, and so in this article it was said something like that on that hill up, and there were a priest that were making animal sacrifices. That was certainly 100% sure. And also maybe human sacrifices, and there was this big table, like or stones, you know, like they would sit there and eat and celebrate while the body would dissolve in time on that hill, but they were eating and staying a little below of that hill, like they could watch it, you know. Like let's be honest, let's think logical like this. If you are venerating like a god, or I don't know, from other not religions, from other, you know, polytheistic, I think it's called, ways. If you are venerating a god, you are not bringing stuff to that god, like candles and flowers and water, and maybe even, I don't know, sacrifice chicken, or I don't know. You don't do that and place it lower than you know, at your feet. You place it at your head, you know, because that is a really interesting connection if you think about that, you know, like placing that upper than you, like you placing the gods upper than you are placing and this is really connected to the conscious, is really connected to the sun, to the illumination thing, to the spirituality, the consciousness, the spirit, maybe even the aliens, as they come, from the sky. If a thing needs to come down, it will come from the sky, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's really interesting, to think about that, to really try to analyze that in a, I don't know, logical, irrational way, but still in the same time in a spiritual, mystical way, And so on that hill they used to a priest used to sacrifice things like animals, like I said, or maybe even humans. And so the people from the village would gather and stay lower than that hill, but still observing that hill, and celebrating, eating, and having fun. So, and it in that article, it said something like it was really good, like a really good sign from the gods if birds and crows would come and eat from that body. It was a sign that the gods appreciated the offering, and they were enjoying it, Also, another really dark thing like they used to do was to choose a wife or a boy or a female, a virgin female or virgin boy, really really young, and to sacrifice it but how it was sacrificed. So the men from the village were staying with their sharp things pointed towards the sky, and they were the priest was throwing this virgin virgin female or boy, were throwing this person right into the sharp things that they used, something like knives, something like swords, like they used to have spears they're called, spears. So they were having like those spears, like old tribes used to do and used to have. They were having like those spears made by them, and the priest took this virgin female or virgin boy young and throw them into their spears. And if that person died fast, it was like a good sign from the gods for them, because it was like he or she had a fast death, and it was a sign that the gods welcomed that gift and they were enjoying it. But if that person died in agony and they were screaming and didn't die fast, it was a bad sign for them, and so they needed another sacrifice to do at a certain time for the gods, as for them to not be punished by that god. Maybe the god was something like, what the fuck did you send me, dude? I don't know. Anyway, it was really really awful thing they did. Anyway, and for that person that was sacrificed, it wasn't like a bad thing, For that person that was sacrificed, it was like something really happy to do, like that person that did that was in the heaven, to do that, to offer them like that. They were happy to do that. And the others that weren't chosen to do that, they were sad, Like, what the fuck? What the fuck mentality is that? Anyways, mentality good for that time, I guess. So they were really mystical and they were really, really into that, And in our recent times, to say it like this, there were persons that, for example, there was this case where this person that he was a cop and he had this family, and he was also interested in this place and all that kind of stuff, and he got into that cave that it is said that is connected with one of the gods that those dudes used to pray to, that those dudes used to make sacrifices to, and to that god, and this cop that so this thing happened like 5 years I think ago or something else, so still recently. And he got there and he admitted that this god that those dudes used to make sacrifices to, you know, from the Sami to Regia. So he admitted that this god somehow talked to him, you know, in telepathy, like mentally. And he, what do you think he did? He killed his family, like all the members from his family, like his children, his wife, his everything that was in the house, even the dog, I think. Yeah, not funny, but really awful. But I don't think that was a good entity. But maybe that god was a bad god, you know, like a negative god, and he was asking for sacrifices or something like that, like, dude, send me sacrifices, what the fuck are you doing, you know, something like that. And that was really awful. Yeah, anyways, moving forward, that was a really awful story, but something that needed to be told. And yeah, another interesting thing, for the females that used to live in this village, for the females that used to be married to the soldiers that were taking part to those things, to those sacrifices, to this community, to say like this, because it was like a small village, like a small community, okay? So for the females that used to be part of those things, and they were married, because they were allowed to have like many wives. I don't know exactly how many wives, but they were allowed to have more than even 3 wives or something like that. And so for the wives that their husband will die in the small wars that they were having, in the fights with their spears that they were having, they were allowed to ask for them to die next to their husbands. And if that seems romantic, I don't think it is. Yeah. And so they will choose to be sacrificed, but not like offerings to their god, to be killed on their husband's while still hot body. So while after the person was killed and was brought back to the village, the wife, instead of mourning and burying his body, one of their wives will be chosen. So not all of their wives, you know. If this soldier had like 3 or 4 wives, one of the wives will choose to be sacrificed on their husband body, over it, you know. And their throats were cut over their husband bodies. And this is what in that article, this is what was written in that article. And yeah, really interesting. I don't know how many of that were true or not. About the sacrifices, I know they were true. No, that 100%, so nobody can come and say no, that wasn't true. It can be seen on the stones as well, as they are stained from the blood. It can be seen in many ways. Yeah. And moving forward, we have, like I said, while I talked about this, I think I maybe inserted pictures. Moving forward, we have pictures from other places as well. So in the first pictures, we have this beautiful castle that I will include a Wikipedia link as well. Oh, it's my mother, it's me. It was really sunny and the sun was really bright, you know. The sun was really bright, but that castle was just amazing. like amazing. Just it was the biggest castle I ever saw in my life, and I had to pay. I really had to pay for the at the entrance to be allowed to take pictures because it was too amazing. And there was this cat that had babies that is too cute. And yeah, my husband and my mother in pictures. So in that castle, I will show you picture by picture, and we will talk about that. So it was this room that had weapons that were used to mutilate and to torture the spies that were trying to spy on the king or whatever he was doing there. And there were still witch trials, because everyone knows about the witch trials. So some females were considered to be witches, and so they were tortured. And we have those dolls that are represented. And if you see this like hanged man right here, this puppet representing a hanged man. So a funny thing about this room is that so while my mother and my my husband were listening to that guide that were sitting there to offer some history thing to the tourists, and they were listening to that. There were those stairs, that while you were going down to those stairs and into the room that was a little bit down, the thing is that it started suddenly. Maybe it was because, but I don't think it was because of that. I'm trying to say maybe it was because maybe claustrophobia or something like that, because the room was really tiny, and the entry was really tight as well, and it was really the smell of it was really awful, and suddenly I felt like something was pressing on my neck, and like I couldn't breathe, something like that. But when I've reached in that room and realized there was this puppet representing hanged man, and what they used to do to those people that were bad, or what they thought to be bad, I realized, like, dude, this is what I feel like. I feel like I had no air to breathe. I feel like something was pressing on my neck to hold my neck or something like that. And when I arrived in that room and saw all of that, I was like, oh, now I understand why. Yeah. And also we have also there can be seen this room where a man was in a cage and was held on the wall, like a puppet, of course. So those puppets were really, really made like really realistical, and they were a little bit scary, to be honest. And that cage was like also for what they believed to be witches or criminals or people like that. Yeah, and the smell also were really awful. The interior of the castle, and it was amazing. The tables, the objects that were put for observation for tourists was amazing. Here is one more picture with me moving forward. There was also this I forgot what it's called in English, bridge. There was also this bridge that is really awesome and really long, and is made from wood, very strong wood, if you know what I'm saying. And there was also this room that they used for ceremonies, for singing, and there are also many other rooms to visit, but you had to like climb to on stairs, and it was really hard, you know, because they were really tight, and there was no oxygen, no air enough in that place, and we were already awakened from this 5 or 6 o'clock, and after the road, and after driving 6 hours, and you know, it was hard to visit all of those rooms, and it was about to close it because it was a little bit late, and yeah, but it was really amazing, you know. Some clothing that was also, but that clothing and those dresses weren't like for real. They were made from people that really liked castles and wanted a representation of that time of period dresses. Some more cute pictures. Also some pictures with weapons and that they used, so those are real, with a picture with armor and swords and some Turkish swords, because we also in our history, in our Romanian history, we have the invasion of Turkey, something like that, and the weapon they used, like, they were really cool, you know, cool to see, but not cool in that time of period. And when you're thinking like that time of period really existed, you know, like, whoa, it is really amazing. Swords and chambers, and a chamber for a child in those pictures, and a tunnel, secret tunnels as well, they were there, but they were closed for tourists, of course. Yeah, and that's it for this video. Of course I will attach some more pictures. You will see more pictures in this video, maybe even after I stop talking, but I don't know. I hoped I attached all pictures. But anyways, oh my god, I forgot about this, so we need to talk about this really fast. And I'll attach some pictures, and I will attach also a link to Wikipedia about Ceausescu and the revolution that was in 1889, I think. So it was this museum about Ceausescu and the revolution and some uniforms. It was really interesting, and also interesting for you to see this, because not many people know about our history about Ceausescu and about that time. And yeah, for many, like I said in my other video as well, it was a great time, but for others it was like a bad time. The secrets were really awful to people, so like in any communist era, you know, they are really awful to people. So like I said, almost forgot about sorry for my English mistakes. I almost forgot about those pictures and the fact that we've been to this museum. So it is really interesting for people from outside of our country that want to know a little bit more of us, about us as history, I think. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of history, and yeah. But those are here are some pictures with some medals, and some mannequins that they were dressed with original uniforms from back then, but also from our recent times as well. So it was more like the kids were put to work, like they were doing school as well, like really learning, and mostly of the persons were taught respect, to have respect to one of other. um, but there were also things banned, like drugs, rock music, to beat another person. There were also things that were forbidden, like free speech. Like you couldn't talk about the leader of the country of Ceausescu in a bad way because you were executed like directly, or beat really hard from the secrets. And yeah, but the kids and the school, they were really touched, and they were also put to work, and the kids in schools were learning like how to work on stuff, like now, for example, in Romania, in our society, in our country, in the present moment, if you go to college, if you go to high school, you will just simply learn theory and that's it. But in the Ceausescu times, uh, people were learning directly how to work on stuff. At least this is how I perceived, and this is how what I read from that time, and from what my family told me, from what my grandma told me, and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, some more pictures. The only way that people could refer to others with respect, but also when mentioning the leader Ceausescu in that time, it was tovarășa or tovarășul, which means like a friendly way to say the respective, like that, like you would I don't know if it is a direct way to explain this in English, like you would refer to that person with lots of respect. So let's see how Google translates this. Companion. So the Google translates this as companion, but it was more than a companion, like referring to someone, like to a companion. It was more like our brother, our respected brother, like you will say something like that, our respected friend. Like you could translate from that time, like tovarășa or tovarășul, something like our respected leader, our respected brother, our respected friend, something like that, It was really like a straight military thing, like a really, limited thing, very rigid, not flowy, like democracy and many things in our society right now are shit, to be honest. Like, for example, there are things that I do not agree with. I don't think I'm gonna open those subjects on the YouTube because many people are going to get triggered. Like, I do not agree, for example, with gender, different gender stuff. Like, I know that men and women are born to be men and women, and that's it. I cannot see in between. Making an exception for those that are being born with some medical difference. But even so, they are allowed to take a path, this or that. I don't see how good it can be for our society in generally, or maybe call me crazy, call me just rigid or whatever you want. I'm not open to that, and that's my view, that's my perspective, and everybody is free to do as they choose. But for me personally, I choose to view things in that way, and that's it. I don't have anything with anybody. I'm treating you with respect. I'm waiting for the same respect, and that's it. But just don't come, in the supermarkets or in town or where everybody can see you, and uh, to look like a man but dress like a woman and put some makeup and then touch the butt of your boyfriend. I mean, dude, that's really awful, and that's really like, oh, I don't like that, and that's just my opinion. And if you don't like my opinion, you are free to go somewhere else. And we can see some dolls as well. I don't know if you can see in the picture that you are right now. We have some dolls from that time period. Those were the dolls that were available to people that could afford. So nobody, not like nobody, but there were the people that were really high in position, like they had lots of money, but and they weren't working like the land. But there were also people that were working the land, and the people that were working the land, they were called țărani. It is really funny if you think about that, because using that term right now, referring to some people like țărani, you're thinking about it like you call somebody in those times țăran if is a really like awful person, like person that drives an expensive car but has an awful personality, or something like that, and he acts like a douchebag, like a shitty person, and you call that person that male person, you call it țăran, or for female version you call it țăranga. But back then, that term to use for people back then on the Ceausescu era was an amazing term to use and described lots of respect for people, because being a țăran or a țărancă back then used to mean that person was really hard working the earth, the land, was working with animals, was working with plants, was working in the garden, was bringing food. So those people that were called back then țărani used to bring the food, because they used to work the land. They were the first priority of the country to promote, like the first priority of the country to promote, like that bring food, and so being called țărani was a very respectful status for them. They worked with animals at the countryside, they worked the land, they worked in the gardens, they bring the food, they bring the animals, they bring cheese, milk, vegetables, fruits, and the primary food source, and it was really back then it was really awesome to have that status as a țăran. To define the țăran statement, to define that word, comes from I'm referring this to our language right now, to our natural language. Like țărani comes from the term țărână, which means earth, which means land, which means țărână means sand, means let's use our Google Translate again, means dust. Okay, so means dust, means earth, means ground, means those kind of stuff. So calling someone țăran from the term of țărână means someone that works the earth, that works the land, that works the ground, that works with it to make to provide vegetables, fruits, and all that kind of stuff, working with animals, working with all of that kind of stuff. So those people that had those stuff, they had a really respectful status for the country, and Ceausescu used to view with good eyes those people, and for them he were offering, and also for young people he were offering free land, free houses, free clothing, free food. It was like this chain of you offer, you receive, something like that. It was built on a working class, this thing, at least his views. But in the end there were also lots of things at the middle, and at the end lots of controversy, lots of stuff that they didn't tell the people. They only tell the negative sides. Maybe there were negative sides as well. I don't know for certain. I didn't live in that back of time. I was born in 99, so yeah. We have some a robot built from packs of cigarettes, and this is what they used to play with. And we have an old TV here. We have some old portraits, and they used, also my grandma used to have this used to have a collection with fishes from glass, handmade, and many of the things that they were produced in our country, they were produced in our country. Many of the things that they used, they were produced in our country. Right now it is really awful that many of the things, especially like many consider this country as to be a small country with no resources, but many of the times back then, many of the things, they were created and handmade in our country. And because of the many people and what they did, because they stole and corruption and all that kind of stuff, many people just treated this shitty and just took what they could and just sold everything, almost everything, to the other countries, and we don't have anything now. Like, as a country, if a war comes, we are fucking dead. Yeah. If a war comes with Romania, everything will just be dust, because we don't have enough people in army as country. We don't have, back then, for kids to go to army, for boys especially, it was mandatory. And as I heard, I think in Switzerland the thing still stands for boys to go to make army, that is still mandatory. I'm not sure about that, but this is what I heard. So yeah, it isn't anymore mandatory to, as a boy, to make the military, to go through the military stage, which is shitty, because many of the boys, they aren't even boys. Many of the male persons aren't even male anymore. They are really, many of them are just pussies, and they beat their wives and their kids, and they treat everyone badly. And I think those people just need some army. They need to be put at respect, stuff like that. Yeah, so that's it. It's like an almost 1 hour of video. That's it. It is an hour of video. Thank you everyone for watching this. I hope you find this interesting. I really wanted to make this video. I really wanted to finish this because I knew it will be interesting, and especially I took those pictures for people as well to see the reality of stuff. Thank you everyone for watching this. If you liked it and resonated with this, don't forget to subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Follow me on my Instagram, where I almost post daily stuff. I generated images and the messages from the guides, spirits, angels, and all of that kind of stuff. And stay tuned for more interesting videos. Also check my husband's YouTube channel if you want. He didn't post in a while, but I hope he will. And that's it for today. Okay, have a nice week, or day, night, or whatever. Share the love, share the peace, and stay strong, stay shielded, and pray for world peace. And yeah, goodbye.
We're going to press stops.
No, don't say that.